It is not every day you can come across a romantic movie with monkeys as the villains. This story begins with the most romantic scene ever. While the gentle breeze blows through their hairs and a beautiful sunset in the background that just intensifies the romantic moment, Shane doesn't waste any time in expressing his heartfelt emotions. As soon as he approached Emily, who was enjoying the sunset and the gentle breeze from the ocean, Shane pops the question, so Emily gives the typical hands on the mouth, eye wide open reaction that every woman would, but it got a bit weird when she asked him about the other woman in his life. Boom. Emily is abruptly snapped back to reality when her co-worker Bonnie calls out to her. For the umpteenth time, Emily has been daydreaming about her ex-boyfriend Shane, who left her for another woman. After snapping out of her delusion, Emily had a chit-chat with Bonnie, who she's been waiting for, concerning their favorite patient little Maddie, but more also about her insatiable urge to cyberstalk her ex Shane, in hopes that their dead relationship might come alive. Emily laments on how Shane has quickly moved on while she struggles to accept her new reality. Bonnie encourages her, stating that with every ending comes a new beginning, and this was her chance to a new beginning. Recounting her experience with her ex-boyfriend almost ruined her happy moment, but Emily is not allowing anyone or anything to steal her peace this weekend. She excitedly showcases Phoebe and Jamal's wedding bands, an exquisite irreplaceable piece that belonged to Phoebe's great-grandmother, that every generation before her passed down onto her. While conversing, Emily genuinely delineated on how much Phoebe and Jamal helped her during her painful breakup with Shane, and all she ever wished for is for them to have a perfect wedding in Costa Rica. Now Emily touches down in Costa Rica. As she awaits for Jamal's cousin to come pick her up from the airport, she quickly gives in to her additive urge of cyber-stalking Shane. Ryan soon appears, startling Emily, who was lost in her ex-'s boyfriend's social media page. Apparently, Emily was obviously not comfortable with Ryan. She's almost disoriented, maybe at the fact that she was caught deep down Shane's page, or because she was expecting Jamal's cousin, but instead the hunky handsome Ryan came to pick her up instead. Emily cannot wait to be with her friends Phoebe and Jamal, and she made sure to let Ryan know that. Initially, Emily thought Ryan took her to the wrong location, but it turns out to be the right spot. She soon steps out to join her friends at the beachside, and they are so super happy to see her, but they quickly inquire to know if she was still with their wedding bands, because she was well known as a notorious inept. Emily reassures them that they need not worry, and all they have to do is to fully focus on having an amazing wedding. The intending groom, Jamal, left the girls to catch up on the lost times. Out of curiosity, Phoebe quizzed Emily on the reason she dislikes Ryan. After she cringes at just the mention of his name, she simply states she has nothing against Ryan, and all she cared about was the upcoming wedding. It was night already and both girls were about to retire to bed, but as soon as they said their goodnights, Emily returned to cyber-stalking her ex-boyfriend Shane. It's now a new day, a fresh start for Emily. She opened up the windows to enjoy the fresh morning air, but she was unexpectedly met with the sight of a shirtless Ryan, taking a jog downstairs. There was a brief awkward moment where they bump into each other and had a brief uncomfortable discussion. Emily was distracted by Ryan's toned body. She even had to beg him to put on a shirt. She can't stand Ryan for reasons. Family and friends soon arrives for the wedding, very hyped for the fun that is to come. But the atmosphere soon turns awkward when Sue, Phoebe's mom, wears her daughter a matrimonial headpiece, stating it was one of the many ways to carry on the family's tradition. Phoebe then has a sudden allergic reaction to the pineapple in her smoothie, and was Emily's saving grace because she was already getting dragged by Sue for losing things. The chaos soon died down, thankfully. Emily, the nurse of the house, brings along the first aid kit Bonnie gave her as a gift and comes to her rescue. Also, Emily's plan for the ladies to go scooting was an absolute disaster. The boys soon came to the rescue, but because the car was filled up already, Emily had to ride in the trunk. They eventually got to the beach, all ready to have a blast. But Emily, being the chief bridesmaid, already made plans on having a private bridal shower with just the ladies, but just like her scooting plans, it got disrupted by her mortal enemy Ryan, who suggested that everyone should attend the bridal shower in order for the guys to keep the ladies safe. Ryan, not minding if he was disrupting Emily's plans, also suggests that they explore one of the hidden caves on the beach as against Emily's plan, and this was the beginning of a chaotic wedding weekend. After leaving her bag unattended in the secret beach, the notorious wild monkeys, well known for stealing, steals her bag, which contains the irreplaceable heirloom that Phoebe and Jamal were supposed to use for their wedding. Emily knows she messed up big time, and in an attempt to redeem herself, she set out on a journey to recover her stolen bag, but not without the handsome Ryan, who willingly volunteered to help her. They had barely begun the journey to the jungle when Emily almost stepped on a venomous snake, but Ryan came to the rescue. Now, no one knows that the wedding band meant for the wedding was in the stolen bag, and Emily is determined to keep it that way, even from Ryan, who was so curious as to the reason she was endangering herself just because of a mere bag. After a long unsuccessful search, Ryan persuaded Emily to take a break and re-strategize because it seems the monkeys have migrated, but she insisted on searching for the crazy monkey that stole her bag. Emily finally realizes that she had no clue on where to find her stolen bag in a dense jungle, so she gives in to Ryan's persuasion, so they both head out in search of professional help. They both board a boat to locate Esteban, a local tracker who knows his way around the jungle and who might help them get a hold of the monkey who has Emily's bag. Back at the beach, Sue, Phoebe's mom, makes a reservation for 6 persons, exempting Emily and Ryan, but Phoebe assures her that her best friend Emily and the handsome Ryan will be back as they had promised. The boat ride made Emily so anxious, but luckily they found Esteban sooner than expected. Now meeting Esteban, he had bad news for Emily and Ryan. Esteban stated that if they had stayed at the public beach like Emily planned, they would have easily gotten a hold of the stolen items, but the monkeys in the secret beach have a much larger, inaccessible territory. It was like finding a needle in a haystack. Emily was now visibly distressed and discouraged at this point, but Ryan assured her that they have a good chance of finding the lost bag if they do not lose hope. Everyone back at the villa wasn't having much fun because of their concern that Emily and Ryan were yet to be back. Now Taisha had to excuse herself from everyone to respond to a call. It was Emily on the other end of the line. Emily explained the situation to Taisha. She also told her about the missing heirloom and begged that she cover up for her for the time being because she dare not come back without the wedding bands. Her best friend Phoebe might never forgive her. All Taisha needed to do was to stall for as long as she could. She started by lying that Emily and Ryan were preparing a secret surprise, hence their prolonged absence. Emily just couldn't help but be clumsy. Not being careful enough, she also accidentally loses the phone that is being used to track the stolen bag. Ryan and Emily still continues their search with the help of a map, and out of shared luck, Emily finds the first aid purse from her missing bag. It got funnier as Ryan thinks it would be best if they both stick to the part way he knows. Ryan was a vast traveler who has found solace in Costa Rica and is a bit familiar with its landscape. Aside from that, the sun was setting quickly. They couldn't afford to lose their way in a jungle riddled with scary animals. Emily thinks differently. She just wants to go in all directions as long as it leads her to her stolen bag. After sighting another of her missing items with a monkey, Emily tried making Ryan climb up the tree in order to retrieve it, but since he was scared of heights, she had to do the banana negotiations. That didn't work out. Not only did the monkeys eat all of her bananas, she got mugged by the monkeys for the second time. The map that gave them a sense of direction was stolen by a monkey. Back at the beach villa, even though Taisha was trying hard to convince everyone that Emily was safe with Ryan and that they were on the right path to finding the stolen bag, Phoebe's mom could not help but voice out her concern of Emily's uncanny ability to cause unfortunate outcomes. Emily had to take the bull by the horn by climbing a tree so she could retrieve a piece of her lost bag. Finding out it was just her swimming trunk got her even more frustrated, so she lashed out at Ryan. Ryan, on the other hand, was also frustrated, tired and fed up at this point. He reciprocated her energy. He was done with Emily. Just when you thought the day couldn't get any worse, it started raining heavily. But Emily still wants to keep searching even though they had no map, no phone, or a clue of where they were. Back at the villa, Phoebe was worried sick at this point, but thank goodness she has Taisha to give her comfort. Now Emily and Ryan found themselves in the most messed up situation ever. They had both slides off the road and Ryan got hurt a bit in the process. Sadly, Emily apologized for putting him through that stress, so they both decided to set up camp in the jungle because that was their best option at that point. And for the first time, they both agreed on something. They shared a space and eventually had the most honest conversation they have ever had. Emily opened up about the lost heirloom, but surprisingly, Ryan encouraged her with kind words. He made sure to tell her how much of a good friend she was to Phoebe and Gemel to have gone this length to get back their wedding band, and as a gentleman, Ryan stayed awake to watch over her as she slept peacefully. Some moments later, Emily was woken up from her beauty sleep by a large jungle spider and the clumsiness continued. With Ryan and Emily gone for long, everyone was worried and prepared to send out a search and rescue for them both, but Taisha assured them that everything was fine. But this time around, Taisha's tricks and lies could no longer cover up for Emily, so the boys set out in search of Emily and Ryan. Back in the jungle, Emily and Ryan have resumed their search for the monkey that stole Emily's bag, but they encountered another challenge. Ryan is unable to cross the bridge that would lead them on their search due to his height fright. Emily tried encouraging him, but when it wasn't working out, she deployed the reverse physiology technique. Instead of wasting more time encouraging Ryan, she thanked him for bringing her thus far and also apologized for all she had put him through. As expected, her little trick worked. At this point, the boys already found Ryan's truck, and by checking the truck, they feared that Emily and Ryan must have lost their way in the jungle or maybe deliberately having some sort of romantic adventure all by themselves. Ryan's phobia for heights almost crippled him, but Emily took his sweaty hands and led him on like a scary child. Back at the beach villa, Sue, Phoebe's mom, wasn't making the situation any easier for Phoebe. She kept pointing out how incompetent her so-called friend can be. Phoebe's wedding was scheduled to be held the next day, but her best friend and chief bridesmaid was nowhere to be found. Back to the jungle, Ryan and Phoebe both made it successfully across the bridge. With the romantic tension between them, Ryan must have thought that Emily was going in for a kiss, but she wasn't. She just cited some missing items from her stolen backpack. This was a good sign. It didn't take long to also find what Emily thought was her phone, but unfortunately they had to swim in a pile of dung to find out it wasn't. and they had to stop by a fountain they discovered to wash up. Enjoying themselves a bit, Ryan took the opportunity to ask Emily why she didn't like him, but Emily gave a surprising answer. For all this while, Emily had always thought that Ryan hated her gut and had gone lengths just to avoid her. Having this conversation made them both discover that this had been a huge misunderstanding after all. Ryan had always had an eye for Emily, so because of his feelings for her, he couldn't stand her being with her douchebag ex-boyfriend Shane. He knew Emily deserved better and he knew he could treat her better. After all, he went as far as convincing Gemel to accommodate Emily, just so he could get the opportunity to set his eyes on her one more time. They had the most beautiful conversation there was. It was a pre-romantic moment. It was Phoebe's wedding rehearsal day, but she was freaking out. She had no idea where her best friend and chief bridesmaid was, or ever where Ryan or the boys were. Gemel came right on time to comfort his damsel in distress. He assured her their wedding was meant to be no matter where or what happens. Still on the search for the heirloom, Ryan and Emily made their way to Ryan's friend Camille. She gave them a warm welcome and a change of clothes. It was obvious Emily had fallen for Ryan too, because she was concerned about how his friend Camille was fond of him. Ryan was caught aback, but he made it clear that they were just best of friends, and by the way, Camille was in a relationship. Emily became so vulnerable that she didn't just talk about not missing her ex Shane as she would usually do. She also expressed how she felt about Ryan, and she also gave him a warm kiss. Meanwhile, back at the village, Emil, Phoebe, and Tiasha are relieved by an email received which was sent by Ryan. The next morning at the tent, after exchanging pleasantries with Camille, Ryan and Emily headed back to the beach. Emily was so happy to see Phoebe. It had been 2 days since they last saw each other. Without wasting any time, Emily confessed her sins to Phoebe, promising to work tirelessly until she can replace the irreplaceable heirloom. Phoebe was surprisingly not offended. In fact, she had an interesting news for Emily. The wedding has been moved and won't be held in Costa Rica, but most importantly, Shane, Emily's ex-boyfriend, called and wants to rekindle his relationship with Emily. Emily was happy on hearing this, but her smile quickly faded away. On the other hand, Ryan didn't look happy on hearing that Emily might have rekindled her relationship with Shane. He was visibly disappointed. Emily got the best news of the weekend while she was FaceTiming Bonnie. Esteban found her stolen bag and the heirloom was sitting pretty in her bag. As the bridesmaid, Emily had to right her wrongs. She convinced Phoebe to still get married in Costa Rica as she previously planned, even though it would go against Sue's plan. Phoebe happily obliged regardless of what her mom wanted. Emily was on a mission to make everything perfect, including her situationship with Ryan. She found Ryan and made it clear she wasn't getting back with her ex Shane because she knew something beautiful was going to happen between them. Going back to the secret waterfall was just the best way to start up their beautiful love story and the most beautiful wedding spot for their friends Phoebe and Gemel. In a new and surprising twist, Emily had been ordained online, so she would be officiating her best friend's wedding.